The galaxy was not free. For thousands of years, the rulers of the cosmos, an empire so vast that its banners flew across 10,000 worlds, believed no one could ever challenge them. Their fleets blotted out suns, their soldiers crushed rebellions in days, and their voice was law. Every species that rose to the stars either bent the knee or was erased from history. To resist was to invite destruction. The rulers had grown arrogant, certain that no force in existence could ever threaten their dominion. But then, one day, a whisper began to spread. It was not the sound of rebellion. It was not the sound of surrender. It was something far more dangerous, something unknown. A single ship had appeared at the edge of their empire. At first, the High Command laughed. A lone vessel? Against the greatest armada the stars had ever known? Surely it was a smuggler, a relic, or some lost explorer too foolish to know where it had wandered. Yet when their scanners reached for it, their laughter stopped. The readings made no sense. The ship was enormous, larger than any warship in their fleets. Its hull was forged from materials unknown to their science. Its energy signature burned brighter than a star, and yet, it was silent. No hails answered. No signals returned. It simply hung there, watching. Panic spread through the command halls. Who had built such a thing? No record in their archives mentioned this design. No ally, no rival, no subject species could have created it. Some whispered it was a weapon left behind by an ancient race. Others feared it was alive. The rulers ordered a battle group forward, 30 warships, enough to burn entire continents to ash. They advanced with shields raised and weapons primed, certain this mystery ship would be crushed like all others before it. But when they closed in, the unknown vessel moved. It did not retreat. It did not answer. Instead, its dark hull shifted, and from hidden ports along its sides, vast cannons unfolded with mechanical precision. Its targeting arrays lit up, sweeping across the fleet like a predator choosing its prey. For the first time in centuries, the rulers felt fear. The warships opened fire. Beams of plasma and storms of missiles rained down upon the giant vessel, lighting space with fury bright enough to blind the stars. For a moment, the commanders were certain victory was theirs. Nothing could withstand such firepower. But when the glare cleared, the ship still stood. Not a scratch marked its surface. The bridge crews of the Empire's ships froze. Their officers shouted commands, desperate to press the attack, but the terror was spreading now. Their weapons meant nothing. Their numbers meant nothing. Then the vessel spoke. A single message rippled across every channel, translated perfectly into the ruler's language. The voice was calm, steady, and filled with something they had not heard in centuries: absolute confidence. This is a human warship. You will stand down. The commanders stared in shock. The word echoed in their minds: human. A name buried deep in the oldest of records. A species thought long dead. A legend, a myth, a story told to frighten cadets about the dangers of forgotten enemies. But legends were not supposed to appear in real space. Legends were not supposed to destroy fleets with a single glance. The human warship moved again. One of its massive cannons fired, just once. A beam of pure energy tore across the void, slicing through the lead ship of the Imperial fleet as if it were paper. The warship split in two, its burning halves tumbling into the darkness. The message repeated: "You will stand down." Suddenly, 30 warships felt small. Suddenly, the rulers of the cosmos felt weak. The Empire had believed itself untouchable. They had ruled for millennia. But now, staring into the cold eyes of a vessel that should not exist, they understood the truth. The age of their dominance was ending. And humanity, the species they thought erased from history, had returned to collect the debt of centuries. The fleet hesitated, their crews trapped between duty and survival. To flee was treason. To fight was suicide. The commanders barked orders, their voices trembling as they tried to mask their fear. The human ship waited, silent, patient, as though daring them to make a choice. Across the Empire, whispers turned to panic. Reports flew faster than light, spreading from system to system. The rulers had met something greater than themselves. And for the first time, the galaxy wondered, what if the true masters of the stars had finally returned? The Imperial High Council gathered inside the throne chamber, a hall built to remind every visitor of the Empire's greatness. The ceiling stretched so high it vanished into shadow. Black banners hung from pillars carved with the faces of conquered species. At the far end, the throne of the High Ruler gleamed like a star. For centuries, no voice dared speak here without trembling. But today, the chamber was filled with fear. Holoscreens glowed with frozen images of the battle. The 30 warships, the blinding light, and the single giant vessel that had refused to fall. One shot. That was all it had taken. A ship worth entire worlds, gone in an instant. The admirals spoke first, their voices sharp, desperate. It must be some ancient construct. No technology could be this advanced. Perhaps a god weapon left behind by a dead race. The High Ruler raised one clawed hand, silencing them. His eyes burned like fire under his crown of steel. "We do not guess," he hissed. "We do not fear shadows. Tell me, who dares bring such a ship into my empire?" The intelligence minister shifted nervously. The message was clear, High Ruler. It identified itself as a human warship. The words hung in the air like a curse. Whispers broke out across the chamber. Human. That name was not spoken here. It belonged to legends, to warnings, to stories meant for children. Humans were supposed to be gone, wiped out long before the Empire had risen. And yet, the evidence glowed on the screens before them. Impossible, the war minister spat. Humanity was destroyed. Perhaps not, murmured another. Perhaps they escaped. Perhaps they waited. The High Ruler leaned forward, his voice low and cold. If it is true, then the oldest threat has returned to our skies. A species too dangerous to enslave. Too stubborn to erase. If the humans live, then everything we have built is in danger. Fear rippled through the council, but pride followed close behind. They were, after all, rulers of the cosmos. How could one ship undo an empire of 1,000 years? The admirals demanded action. "We will send a full fleet. Not 30 warships, but 300. We will crush this phantom and scatter its ashes. No myth can withstand the empire." But the science minister shook her head, her voice trembling. "You saw the battle. Our weapons did nothing. Our shields failed. This was not brute strength. It was precision. Technology beyond ours by centuries." Silence followed. Even the High Ruler's hands tightened on his throne. Finally he spoke, his tone like a blade. "If humanity has returned, then we must learn everything. Where they come from. What they want. And most of all, how many of them there are. Because if this was not their only ship..." His voice trailed off, but the meaning was clear. Panic pressed against the walls of the chamber, but none dared show it. Across the Empire, systems already whispered. Soldiers wondered if they would be sent to their deaths. Governors asked if they should evacuate their worlds. Civilians, hearing rumors of the word human, spoke in hushed voices, as though the sound alone might summon them. And far away, in the dark edges of the Empire, the ship waited. It did not move. It did not retreat. It simply hovered in silence, as if daring the rulers to strike again. A second battle group was dispatched, 50 ships this time, armed with the newest weapons, reinforced with experimental shields. They advanced with perfect formation, their commanders certain that numbers would succeed where the first fleet had failed. But the humans did not fire first. They waited. The Imperial warships hailed them, demanded surrender, declared the Empire's authority. The human vessel gave only the same cold message. "This is a human warship. You will stand down." The admirals laughed at the arrogance. One ship against 50? They must be insane. They opened fire. And then they learned the truth. The human vessel did not just defend itself, It moved like nothing they had ever seen. Its cannons lit up, not in random blasts but in strikes of terrifying accuracy. Each shot found its target. Each blast cut through shields as though they were mist. One by one, the Empire's proudest warships became burning wrecks, their crews lost to the void. Within minutes, half the fleet was gone. The rest broke formation, their discipline shattered. Some tried to flee. Others charged blindly, hoping for one lucky strike. It made no difference. The human ship carved through them like a blade through silk. When the battle was over, silence filled the stars once again. Debris floated where 50 ships had once stood. The human warship remained, untouched, unshaken, its cannons cooling in the darkness. And then the message came again. You will stand down. This time, the Empire did not laugh. The Empire was trembling. For the first time in living memory, their fleets had been broken, shattered by a single ship. The news spread faster than light. Governors whispered of rebellion. Soldiers refused orders. The word human burned across the Empire like a spark in dry grass. But the High Ruler did not bend. In the throne chamber, his voice thundered. One ship cannot undo us. We are the Empire. We will endure. He ordered every scientist, every engineer, every archivist to dig through the oldest records. He demanded answers, who the humans truly were, where they came from, and how they had returned. The archivists obeyed. They unlocked vaults untouched for centuries, pulling scrolls and dataslates that most had thought were myths. They found reports from long before the Empire's rise, records of wars so brutal that entire sectors had been left in ruins. The name, human, appeared again and again, written in the fearful tones of extinct races. The records told a chilling story. Humans were not conquerors. They were survivors. They had come from a world marked Death World, a place so hostile that only the strongest could live. They had fought predators, storms, and poisons before they even reached the stars. And when they finally did, they carried that same unbreakable will with them. The archivists read the last entry. The humans vanished. Some say they destroyed themselves. Others say they left, into the void, swearing they would return. Now the council understood. That promise had not been forgotten. Meanwhile, at the edge of the Empire, the human warship still lingered. For days it remained motionless, like a shadow against the stars. Yet it was not silent. It scanned. It observed. It mapped every signal, every ship that came too close. The Empire sent spies, cloaked vessels designed to slip past detection. None returned. The human ship sensors seemed to pierce every disguise. Each spy was destroyed in a flash before it could even report back. Fear spread deeper. The rulers of the cosmos were being watched, studied like prey. On the fourth day, the human ship moved. Slowly, steadily, it drifted toward a nearby system, an imperial colony world. Billions lived there, under the Empire's rule. Alarms rang in every command station. Admirals screamed for action. Civilian governors begged for mercy. The High Ruler gave one order: block it. Stop it at all costs. 100 ships formed a wall between the colony and the advancing vessel. Their captains broadcasted threats and demands. Turn away. You are entering imperial space. Leave, or be destroyed. The human ship did not answer. It continued forward, silent and unstoppable. The imperial fleet opened fire. The stars lit up with a storm of plasma, torpedoes, and beams. The colony below shook as the sky became fire. But when the light faded, the human ship was still there. It had not fired back. Instead, its voice spread across every channel. We are not here to destroy you. We are here to remind you. Confusion spread through the imperial fleet. Not here to destroy. What did that mean? The message continued. Your empire calls itself ruler of the cosmos. But the stars do not belong to tyrants. They belong to those who defend, not those who enslave. We warned long ago. You did not listen. The admirals shouted back, desperate to sound strong. "You are nothing but one ship. You cannot stand against an empire." The human voice was calm, steady, unshaken. "One ship is enough, for now." The human warship drifted closer to the colony. The fleet broke formation, terrified to block its path. It passed through their ranks without firing a single shot. Its massive shadow fell over the colony world below, covering entire continents. And then, with the same calm voice, it broadcast again. "Humanity has returned. Choose your future wisely." Then, without explanation, the warship turned and vanished into the dark. The colony world erupted in chaos. Some praised the humans as liberators. Others cursed them as demons. But one truth could not be denied: the rulers of the cosmos had been challenged, and they had hesitated. Back in the throne chamber, the High Ruler raged. His fists cracked against the arms of his throne. "They mock us. They think themselves gods. Then we will show them what it means to face an empire." Orders were given. Factories thundered to life. War fleets were built in secret numbers not seen in centuries. The empire would not bow, it would rise in fury. But deep within their hearts, every commander, every soldier, every citizen knew the truth. The empire had been touched by something it could not understand. And humanity had only just begun. Inside the vast human warship, silence ruled. Not the silence of emptiness, but the silence of discipline. The command deck stretched like a cathedral, filled with glowing consoles and armored figures working in perfect rhythm. At the center stood Captain Elias Vance. His face was weathered, his hair streaked with silver, his eyes sharp as steel. He carried himself like a man who had seen too many wars, and survived them all. Around him, the crew worked with quiet precision. They were soldiers, engineers, and survivors, each chosen from the last hidden colonies of Earth. For centuries, humanity had been gone from the galaxy's sight. But they had not died. They had hidden. They had built. They had prepared. "Status," Vance said, his voice calm. "All systems green," replied Commander Imani, his second in command. Her dark eyes studied the screens as numbers scrolled across them. "Shields at full. Weapons primed. Scanners confirm, Imperial fleets are massing in 3 sectors." Vance nodded, unshaken. "As expected. They always answer fear with force." Another officer turned from her station. "Captain, the colony transmission is spreading. Half the population believes us saviors. Half calls us monsters. The Empire is censoring what they can, but whispers are everywhere." A faint smile touched Vance's lips. "Good. Fear is useful. Hope is stronger." The crew fell silent again. They knew the weight of their mission. They were not here for conquest. They were here for something far older, something promised long ago. Humanity had been broken once. Entire worlds had burned. Their fleets had fallen. The Empire had thought them erased. But deep in the void, hidden from all eyes, the survivors rebuilt. They forged warships not to expand, but to return, with justice. Captain Vance stepped to the viewport, staring at the stars. Beyond the glass stretched the Empire's domain, glittering with thousands of stolen worlds. His voice lowered, almost to a whisper. "They called themselves rulers of the cosmos. They enslaved. They burned. They forgot the oath we swore." His crew listened in silence. Every human aboard carried that oath in their hearts. "Never again," Vance said. His words echoed through the chamber. The ship's AI, a calm synthetic voice, broke the silence. "Captain, long-range scans detect a fleet mobilizing. 200 ships, converging on our vector. Estimated time to contact, 30 hours." The bridge held its breath. The Empire was coming in full force. "Orders, Captain?" Commander Imani asked. Vance's eyes narrowed. "We let them come. We will show them why the stars themselves once feared humanity." Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the Empire moved with desperation. Shipyards burned through resources at reckless speed. Armadas gathered like storm clouds. The High Ruler stood before his generals, his voice hard with fury. This is no phantom. This is no ghost. The humans live. They dare defy us. And so we will drown them in fire. No world will shelter them. No system will hide them. We will erase them again. Forever. The generals roared in agreement, but their eyes betrayed their fear. They had seen the battles. They knew one ship had already destroyed 80 of theirs. But pride blinded them. Pride and terror. Back aboard the human warship, preparations continued. Weapons were checked, drones armed, strike craft launched from hidden bays. The crew moved with grim purpose. They knew what was coming. Lieutenant Roan, youngest of the crew, whispered to his commander. "Do you think we can win, ma'am? Against all of them?" Commander Imani's gaze was steady. "We do not fight to win, Lieutenant. We fight so the galaxy remembers." The words struck Roan deep. He understood now. This warship was not just a weapon. It was a message. Hours passed. The Empire's fleet drew closer, a swarm of lights on the scanners. Hundreds of ships, proud and deadly, marching toward one vessel. On the bridge, the crew waited. No one trembled. No one faltered. They had trained their whole lives for this moment. The AI spoke again. Enemy fleet entering combat range. Transmission incoming. The Empire's voice filled the speakers, arrogant and furious. "Human vessel. You will surrender immediately. You are outnumbered and surrounded. This is your only chance to survive." Captain Vance's voice was steady, calm, unbroken. "We are humanity. We do not surrender. And we are never outnumbered." The crew prepared for battle. The Empire's warships spread out, forming a wall of firepower, a net meant to strangle the intruder. The void filled with the hum of charging cannons. And then, silence. The human ship's lights dimmed, its hull shifting as weapons unfolded, systems awakening like a giant opening its eyes. The Empire had brought 200 ships. But humanity had brought something greater, something the galaxy had forgotten. And in that silent, breathless moment before the storm, even the stars seemed to hold still. The stars lit up with fire. 200 Imperial warships advanced, their hulls gleaming, their weapons charged. The void shook with their power. No enemy had ever stood against such a fleet and survived. To the Empire, this was certainty. One ship against 200 was not a battle, it was an execution. On the human warship's bridge, Captain Vance watched calmly. Around him, the crew sat ready, their faces carved with determination. No one spoke. They were waiting for his word. The Empire hailed again, their voice sharp and filled with arrogance. "Human vessel, this is your final warning. Surrender, or be destroyed." Vance gave his answer with a single word. Fire. The void exploded. From the human ship sides, colossal beams of white light tore forward, each one precise, each one unstoppable. The first blast ripped through an Imperial cruiser, splitting it in two. The second sliced straight through a battleship, its reactor blooming into fire. The Empire roared back with fury. 200 ships unleashed everything at once. Plasma storms, torpedo swarms, beams of energy brighter than suns, all converged on the lone human vessel. The crew braced, the shields flared, then held. The storm passed, and the human ship still stood. Smoke curled from its hull, but its weapons glowed hotter than ever. "Return fire," Vance ordered. The ship answered like a predator set free. Its cannons struck with surgical precision. It did not waste shots. Every blast found a target. Every target was destroyed. The Empire's fleet began to falter. Crews screamed across comms, begging for orders, begging for survival. Admirals shouted for them to hold the line. But fear was spreading faster than commands. Then, the human ship unleashed something new. Panels across its hull slid open, and swarms of drones launched into the dark. Small, fast, deadly, they moved like shadows, weaving through enemy fire. They struck engines, tore through hulls, and blinded sensors. Dozens of Imperial ships fell to these machines, helpless against their speed. Panic consumed the fleet. "Pull back," one admiral cried. "Regroup," shouted another. But their voices were drowned out by screams as more ships vanished into fire. On the human bridge, Lieutenant Roan stared at the destruction. His voice shook. "Sir, it's 200 ships. And we're cutting through them like nothing." Commander Imani's voice was steady. "This is what they never understood. Humanity doesn't fight with numbers. We fight with everything." The battle raged on. The Empire's mighty armada crumbled piece by piece. Some ships broke formation and fled, desperate to escape the slaughter. Others, too loyal or too terrified of their rulers, stayed and died. The High Ruler watched from afar, his face twisting with rage. 200 ships, gone, his empire humiliated by a single vessel. He slammed a clawed fist onto his throne, the sound echoing through the chamber. "Build more fleets," he roared. "Summon every ship. I want the humans drowned in their own fire." But deep down, even he felt it, the shadow of fear. Back in the battle, the human warship moved like a giant among insects. Its weapons pulsed, its shields blazed, its drones tore through everything in their path. The Imperial fleet had become wreckage scattered across the stars. When the last few ships tried to flee, Captain Vance gave the order. "Let them run." The crew looked at him in surprise. "Sir." Vance's gaze was cold. "Fear will spread faster than wreckage. Let them carry the story home." And so the survivors fled, engines burning, carrying with them the tale of an impossible enemy. The void fell silent again. The human ship stood alone among the ruins of 200 vessels. Fires drifted in the dark, broken hulls turned slowly in the void, and the echoes of battle faded into nothing. On the bridge, Vance finally spoke. This was not victory. This was a warning. Commander Imani nodded. "Do you think they'll listen?" His eyes narrowed, hard as stone. "No. They never listen. That's why we're here." Across the Empire, panic spread like wildfire. Soldiers whispered of ghosts in the void. Citizens asked if the Empire was truly untouchable. And governors wondered, if one human ship could do this, what would happen if there were more? In the throne chamber, the High Ruler's rage burned hotter than suns. He swore before his council, before his gods, before the stars themselves. "The humans will not survive this time. I will bring the galaxy down on them. If they have returned, then I will end them." But far out in the dark, on the human warship, Captain Vance gave his own oath. "They think they are rulers of the cosmos. Soon, they will remember who taught them fear." The war was no longer coming. It had already begun. The Empire had never known shame, until now. 2 fleets destroyed. Hundreds of ships gone. Billions whispering the word human in fear. For the first time, cracks spread across the Empire's image of power. The High Ruler refused to accept it. His voice thundered through the throne chamber. "You call us rulers of the cosmos, yet a single ship humiliates us. Do you want the galaxy to laugh at us? Do you want them to believe legends are stronger than an empire?" The generals bowed low, trembling, but none dared answer. Then the High Ruler revealed his command. "It is time to release the Titan." Gasps filled the chamber. The Titan was no ordinary ship. It was a weapon the Empire had hidden for centuries, a forbidden creation, too dangerous even for their own fleets. It was the size of a small moon, armed with weapons that drained suns, and powered by technology stolen from a dozen extinct races. The Titan had never been tested. Until now. The Empire's fleets rallied behind it. They believed no single vessel, not even a human warship, could withstand such power. If the humans wanted a war, the Titan would end it before it truly began. Far across the void, aboard the human warship, Captain Vance stood before the glowing star map. Dots of red spread across the projection, Imperial fleets moving like predators toward prey. At the center of it all was a massive signal unlike anything they had seen before. Commander Imani frowned at the readings. That's no fleet. It's something larger, something built to crush planets. Titan class, Vance muttered. His voice carried no fear, only recognition. So they've finally brought it out. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. Lieutenant Roan spoke what they were all thinking. Can we even fight something like that, Captain? 200 ships we destroyed, but this looks like an entire fortress. Vance's gaze hardened. We're not here to run. We're here to remind them. And if they send their Titan, then we'll show them what real Titans are. The warship changed course, heading straight toward the incoming monster. When the two forces met, the stars themselves seemed to hold their breath. The Titan appeared first, a dark shape so vast it blocked out whole constellations. Its hull bristled with cannons the size of cities, its energy fields glowing like suns. Around it, hundreds of smaller ships moved in tight formation, guardians to their god machine. The human warship was dwarfed in comparison. To the Empire, it looked like a lone insect flying toward a mountain. But the insect carried fire. The first strike came from the Titan. A single cannon fired, unleashing a beam of raw energy that scorched across the void. Entire asteroid fields vaporized in its path. The human warship's shields flared, struggling under the force, but they held. The crew staggered at the impact, alarms flashing across the bridge. Lieutenant Roan shouted, "Shields at 60%. Vance's voice was steady. "Stabilize. Target their power arrays. Fire." The human cannons roared, beams of white light stabbing into the Titan's hull. Explosions rippled across its surface, tearing away towers and turrets, but the massive fortress still advanced, still firing. The battle became a storm. The Titan's weapons lit up the void, each shot strong enough to kill a fleet. The human ship danced through the chaos, returning fire with precision, cutting down escorts, striking weak points, carving holes into the monster's armor. But for every blow, the Titan struck back harder. The human warship shook, shields flickering, hull groaning under the relentless assault. On the bridge, sweat ran down faces. The crew worked without pause, their voices sharp but controlled. Engines overheating. Shield grid collapsing on the port side. Enemy drones approaching. Yet still, they fought. Commander Imani leaned close to Vance. "We can't win this by trading shots. We need something bigger." Vance's eyes narrowed. He touched a hidden control on his console. "Then it's time." The AI's calm voice filled the bridge. Authorization code accepted. Omega protocol unlocked. Panels along the human ship's spine began to shift. A deep hum filled the void, vibrations so strong that even the Empire's fleets felt it through their hulls. Light gathered at the warship's core, brighter and brighter, until it was like a second sun igniting in the dark. The Empire's admirals panicked. "What are they doing? Stop them." The Titan charged another massive shot, its cannons glowing, ready to end the fight in one blast. But the human ship fired first. A beam unlike any before erupted from its core, pure, blinding energy, focused into a single unstoppable line. It struck the Titan's main cannon just as it fired. The void tore open. The Titan's weapon exploded inward, ripping through its own hull. Entire sections of the fortress shattered, fire bursting out in colossal waves. The shockwave hurled ships away like leaves in a storm. The human warship pushed forward, striking again and again, each shot carving deeper wounds into the Titan. The Empire's greatest weapon screamed in silence as its armor cracked, its engines failed, its heart went dark. And then, with a final explosion brighter than a star, the Titan was gone. Silence returned. The Empire's escorts scattered, fleeing in terror. The lone human warship drifted through the wreckage, its shield scarred, its hull battered, but still alive. On the bridge, the crew stared at the burning remains of the Titan. Lieutenant Roan whispered, "We just destroyed their god. Vance's eyes were hard as steel. No. We destroyed their lie. Across the Empire, the story spread like wildfire. The Titan, their hidden monster, their ultimate weapon, was gone. Destroyed by the one enemy they thought long dead. The galaxy trembled. And the Empire finally understood, humanity was not here to beg for survival. Humanity was here to end the age of tyrants. The Empire had ruled for 10,000 years. Its word was law, its fleets were unchallenged, its enemies erased before they could rise. But now the impossible had happened. The Titan, the weapon said to be undefeatable, a fortress of 1,000 worlds, was gone. Destroyed by a single human warship. The news spread like fire across the stars. Traders whispered it in secret. Soldiers spoke of it in fear. Citizens prayed it was true. Entire systems that once bowed to the Empire suddenly lifted their heads, hope returning like a long-forgotten dream. The High Ruler raged in his throne room, his screams echoing across marble halls. Lies. All lies. The Titan cannot be destroyed. But even as he shouted, the truth glowed across every comm screen in the Empire. Wreckage drifting, fires burning, their greatest weapon shattered. For the first time, fear reached the throne itself. Far away, aboard the human warship, Captain Vance stood at the center of the bridge, silent as the crew gathered around him. Outside the windows, the remains of the Titan floated in silence, a tomb of twisted metal. Lieutenant Roan whispered, "We showed them we cannot be broken, but they will send everything now. The Empire will not stop." Commander Imani nodded grimly. "Then it's not just about survival anymore. The galaxy is watching. If we fall here, the spark dies. But if we stand..." Vance finished her words. "Then we light the fire." Moments later, a signal was sent. Not to Earth, not to hidden human fleets, but to the galaxy itself. A message carried on every open channel, spoken in a voice clear and unshaken. "This is Captain Vance of the human warship Resolute. We are not myths. We are not gone. Humanity still stands. To every world under the Empire's chains, rise. The age of tyrants ends now." The words reached colonies under siege, mining stations worked to death, entire planets crushed beneath imperial rule. And everywhere, the same thing happened. Slaves dropped their tools. Soldiers lowered their weapons. Governors faced uprisings they could not stop. The galaxy moved. On a dozen worlds, rebellions exploded overnight. Fleets that once served the Empire splintered as captains defected, refusing to fight for a throne already trembling. Entire species long crushed into silence raised their banners again, no longer afraid. The Empire scrambled, trying to put out the fire, but the fire was everywhere. And through it all, the human warship kept moving, striking again and again. Wherever resistance rose, the Resolute appeared, blasting apart blockades, tearing through prisons, protecting those who dared to rebel. To the oppressed, the ship was not just a weapon. It was a symbol. Proof that the Empire could bleed. Still, the High Ruler refused to surrender. He gathered the last of his loyal fleets, pulling them back to the capital system. Thousands of ships formed a wall of steel, determined to protect the throne world. It was there the humans came. The Resolute dropped out of warp at the edge of the capital, its scarred hull glowing with repair drones. The crew stood ready, tired but unbroken. Ahead of them, an ocean of enemy ships waited, blotting out the stars. Lieutenant Roan's voice shook. "Captain, that's every ship they have left. We can't fight them all." Vance's eyes never left the screen. "We don't have to. Look." From the dark behind them, lights flickered. First dozens. Then hundreds. Then thousands. Ships of every shape and size appeared. Rebel fleets, stolen frigates, defected cruisers, even merchant convoys armed with scavenged weapons. At their center, massive shadows emerged, unmistakable in their design. Human warships. Not one. Not two. An entire fleet. The bridge fell silent as the humans saw what none had expected. Their people had returned in force. Not hidden. Not extinct. Waiting, preparing, rebuilding in secret. And now, they were here. Commander Imani's voice broke with awe. It wasn't just us. Humanity never stopped fighting. The Empire's fleet wavered. For the first time in its history, it was outnumbered, outmatched, surrounded by enemies who no longer feared it. Vance raised his hand. All ships, advance. The battle that followed shook the stars. The Empire fought with desperation, but their fleets crumbled as rebels and humans struck together. Human warships cut through lines like blades, their weapons roaring with fury. One by one, Imperial ships exploded, fire filling the void. At the center of the storm, the High Ruler's flagship was cornered. Massive, golden, bristling with weapons. But alone. The Resolute moved in close, its cannons charged. The comm screen lit up with the High Ruler's face, pale with fear. "You cannot do this. I am the Empire. I am eternal." Vance's reply was cold as steel. "No empire is eternal. Only freedom is." The Resolute fired. The High Ruler's ship vanished in a single blinding flash. When the light faded, silence filled the stars. The Empire was gone. Across the galaxy, cheers rose. Chains were broken. Flags of rebellion became banners of freedom. And at the heart of it all, humanity stood, not as conquerors, but as defenders. On the bridge of the Resolute, the crew watched the capital burn. Lieutenant Roan whispered, "It's over. We actually won." Vance shook his head slowly. "No. It's just beginning. A galaxy without tyrants needs something greater. A promise. And humanity will be that promise." The human fleet gathered behind him, their lights shining like new constellations. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy was free. And every world knew the truth. Humanity had returned. And the stars would never be the same again.